Defending champion Jeff Ward started the season off a little slow and slipped in the points chase. But at Copper Mountain, Jeff exploded, winning all 4 races, taking control of his own destiny. Can Wardy will another spectacular weekend? Or will the rest of the field step up to stop the bleeding? Supermoto action from Nashville next. The AMA Supermoto Series rolls into Nashville, Tennessee in the Music City Motorplex for a doubleheader, a pair of races in one of the most exciting forms of motorcycle competition yet to hit the planet. Hello and welcome everyone to the 5th weekend of competition. Along with a nice crowd on hand, I'm Brian Drebber. Along with Robbie Floyd in the booth, Rebecca Staub working the pits and paddock for us. And this round 5 takes place on what is normally an oval racetrack in which they built a Supermoto course.
And they're letting them use the entire course this year. You see turn 1 sweeping around. They didn't get that chance last year at the AMA stop. They only used a portion of it, but now we get to open up the bikes.
Defending champion Jeff Ward sits atop the points table over veteran Jürgen Kunzel. There are 26 points between the two and 26 points counting Super Pole, and that's exactly what the top 4 riders had to do, go out and set a fast lap in order to set the final field. Kurt Nickel, first man out.
Yeah, Kurt Nickel, the defending Supermoto Unlimited champion. He's fast. He's a former motocross champion in his own country, but failed to get that World Motocross Championship. He's trying to do it here in the AMA Supermoto class. Again, he already has the Supermoto Unlimited title.
Jürgen Kunzel right behind him on yet another KTM 450 SMR, a tick faster than Nickel, who was just over the 1 minute category. Kunzel, the first man under a minute in Super Pole.
What we expected from Jürgen Kunzel. The German is so fast on the asphalt. He can back it in with the best of him. I expect him to be up in the front today. He's always fast when he can open it up on the asphalt.
Jürgen Kunzel on the number 5 KTM, putting on a good show in Super Pole, as he has been putting on a great show in Supermoto racing throughout his career here in the United States, of course coming over from Europe. And Jeff Ward, the defending champion, the man who has shown everybody just how this sort of hybrid sport has worked. A motocross and supercross champion, a 4-wheel racer, and now back to 2 wheels in fine style.
And Wardy, the motocross star, you talked about it, racing IRL. This guy's been on Indy, mind you, so he's not afraid to open it up on the half-mile asphalt here in Nashville. But Jeff Ward, remember, he's our points leader because Doug Henry, was injured during this season. He knows that, but right now he's trying to take advantage of that and ride as fast as he can. And you can see Wardy very fast, one of the top qualifiers.
59.5 second lap, just a 10th quicker than Jürgen Kunzel. And now the youngster, Troy Herfoss, on a Husqvarna SM450R, comes out and sets the Super Pole fastest lap time, only man under 59 seconds in the competition. So he will start from the front row when they grid him up to go racing for real. Herfoss, a real revelation.
Yeah, the teenager from Australia, kind of, in the footsteps of Marco Vard. We saw him come from Australia the past 2 years, but something tells me he's going to do a little bit better than Vard has done the past couple years. Look how fast this kid is. When you can beat Jeff Ward by a full second and have a lot of asphalt, he's fast.
So Herfoss, Ward, Kunzel, and Nickel will start the grid. Then we have many of the usual suspects, along with a few special guests. Aaron Yates, road racer. J.R. Schnabel, dirt tracker. There are a few of those guys who have crossed over into this hybrid sport that incorporates a little bit of what they all do for a living.
Massimiliano Gazzarada, another rider to really look for. He lives in the U.S. now, but this is one fast Italian. He's been doing well this year with great starts.
At the start, the youngster Herfoss right of the screen of the number 28 machine. Across his bow comes the number 8 Kurt Nickel on the KTM to lead early here with Herfoss dropping into second spot.
Yeah, you said that right. Across his bow, but here goes Herfoss on the outside. Nickel shut the door on him. You saw him have to check up, but it didn't take long for the Husqvarna. That bike is fast.
Down into the steep banking, then the chicane that leads to the infield part of the racetrack, to the dirt, foot out here, classic Supermoto style. Troy Herfoss has opened up a pretty impressive lead here after not getting the whole shot.
Well, that's what we can expect on the asphalt. The guys in front want to check out, don't have to worry about it. You can take the line that you want, but he is able to open it up with the high speeds here. Now the dirt section, it's usually about 70-30 or 80-20. It almost looks more like 90-10 this week. 90 asphalt, 10% dirt. And then you throw in the Parts Unlimited Urban Cross section. A little added flavor for the AMA Supermoto.
Man-made jumps puts these guys in the air. For road racers and dirt trackers, it's unfamiliar territory. But for anyone with a motocross background or a great deal of Supermoto experience, those jumps are part of the program that they enjoy, and the crowd certainly love them.
Yeah, and you see how they're laying it over. Yes, that is right. You are seeing sparks. That's where the foot pegs are actually touching the asphalt as they come over. Some of them have little sliders on their bike, you know, if you know it's going to happen like that, but that's something that a motocross guy is not used to, is feeling that grinding action below you. I mean, you stick it too much, Brian, you know it's going to check you up.
Well, it's an amazing bit of physics, how much lean angle these guys can get into the bikes. And right now, the battle is for second, third, and fourth among Kurt Nickel, Jurgen Kunzel, and Jeff Ward. Troy Herfoss, the Australian teenager, has checked out up front.
Look at Ward going to the inside. He squared it up, took a line that neither rider in front of him were taking. He's going to use those unconventional lines. You know Ward, he's fast in the dirt. He's fast everywhere. That's why he has the number one. But I think if he's going to make the pass, Brian, that's where it's going to happen. But here's where it starts getting a little tricky. When the dirt meets the asphalt and you have those slick tires, things can get a little nuts, especially with the high speeds.
Well, those slick tires afford a great deal of traction and lean angle on pavement. On dirt, it's a different story altogether. Ward has come to grips with both kinds of traction. Right now, though, he's bringing up the rear of this three-rider battle for the podium spots behind Troy Herfoss.
Yeah, look at Kunzel, the second rider in your picture right there. He closes in on Nickel when they're entering into those braking sections. Kunzel is definitely faster than Nickel. He's proven that in the past 2 years. Ward, I don't know, he's almost like waiting for a mistake. I think he's actually waiting for the dirt section. Let's see if it happens here. He's going to have to set them up in the dirt. There he goes again, squares it up, and he needs a bobble. See, now this time he goes outside, double outside. So it didn't happen because both riders are taking up both lanes.
Well, he's trying to use all of that berm, and he runs out of berm there about two-thirds of the way around the racetrack just when he would want to get maximum slingshot. So he's going to have to experiment with it just a little bit more as the top of that berm has kind of broken off and fallen away. But Jeff Ward definitely working it behind these other two.
In a perfect world, you'll see Jurgen Kunzel go to the outside one time to try and get by Kurt Nickel. Watch this next time. There's Nickel on the left, Kunzel on the right, Ward just behind. When they go into that dirt section, if Kunzel, the second rider in your picture, number 5, tries making an outside pass, you know, he's got to take a different line. If he does that, that's how Ward's going to do it. But how amazingly fast is Troy Herfoss? The corner speed, the diving in. He's using all moto and road race skills right now.
Troy Herfoss out in front, riding very clean laps. No one to contend with yet, and not traffic to deal with either. So at this point, Troy Herfoss just putting together lots of laps. Similar, now he takes a quick look over his shoulder to see how far behind the competition is. Settles right back down to the job of hitting his marks.
Yeah, we had to take a look and see where the leader is. He's checking out. That's where he is. He's trying to get away from everyone and doing a great job of it.
David Bafalou bringing up the rear of the top 8. We'll be right back. The AMA Supermoto Championship is being brought to you by Honda, the company that defines performance in motorcycles, ATVs, personal watercraft, and scooters, and by Yamaha, now celebrating 50 years as the world's motorsports leader. Australian teenager Troy Herfoss out in front here at the Music City Motorplex, the AMA Supermoto Championship, race number 1 of the doubleheader. Things are getting tight behind him, however, between the two KTM teammates, Jurgen Kunzel and Kurt Nickel.
And you see Jeff Ward just doing the best he can, just trying to fight that machine when he gets on that asphalt with that slippery back tire. Again, these are road race tires, and you're looking at a motocross bike with a road race tire, kind of a crazy combination. But because Ward is getting held up, it looks like a little bit, Max Gazzarada is starting to close in just behind him, and Wardy can't make a mistake trying to get by these two, or he's going to get past, Brian.
Well, the straw boss, Kurt Nickel, is up front right now. His teammate, Jurgen Kunzel, challenging. Now we're talking about up front in second position. Kunzel getting very close right there. Ward, again, waiting for that dirt section to make his big moves. He's not quite as strong going into that hard-braking side sliding turn number 1 on the racetrack. The two KTM guys really going after each other. Mirror images. Here comes Kunzel up inside for a block pass. He's made it work. That lets Ward get even closer, and we're right back to a real battle here for the runner-up spot.
Yeah, watch out for Ward this time, because Ward, he hasn't had to deal with Kurt Nickel. Oh, Nickel did a great job. Now, Nickel didn't know what Ward was doing every time, but look what happened. Just like you said, he just ran it in deep. Kurt Nickel's the boss of KTM. You know, Kunzel's got to be nice somewhat, but he knew when to back it down, and that was the time because he was hung out to dry.
Well, he pushed Nickel so wide that Ward almost got by. Then Ward tried it in the dirt, didn't make it happen. Here's Max Gazzarada running in 5th spot. He's gotten close enough to begin to challenge, but now that Jurgen Kunzel has gotten in front of Nickel, and you already said he was faster, the pace has picked up. Gazzarada's lost the gap again.
Yeah, Gazzarada on the Motostrano.com. Honda just behind Ward. He lost some distance, but he looked fast. Now we'll see if if Ward can catch up or get by Kurt Nickel. I think he lost some ground that last lap. Wardy did. This time he's going to be a lot closer going in the dirt. You see him running it in there super deep. What's he going to do, though? He still takes that outside berm, but now you're looking at two of the best motocrossers of their era. And he took the outside, and Ward decided he set himself up on the outside that time. There was the instance where, you know what, if he would have squared it up outside, inside, he might have been able to make the pass. But I think Nickel's just throwing him curveballs right now.
Well, it's a great match between these two as Troy Herfoss continues to run flawless laps out front to lead this one by a significant margin on his Pacifico GP-sponsored Husqvarna. Full tuck down the back straightaway, as aerodynamic as you can make a motocross bike and its rider. He's just done that.
Look at his
slide
foot.
Going in.
Look at his foot, though. I mean, he still has some motocross action there. I mean, you don't see a road racer stick their leg out like that, Brian. I mean, how many superbike races have you done? That's what's unique about Supermoto. You kind of get a blend of both, the road and the dirt, and you see Kunzel starting to close in really hard now that he's got clear track ahead of him and nobody really bumping on his rear fender. But, I mean, these are 220, 230-pound machines with the road race tires. They are very flickable. Now we'll see if he's playing follow the leader right now. I'm very surprised that Ward isn't changing things up. You know the old adage, you're not going to pass anybody when you're following them. And Ward looks like he's just trying to take those lines and be a little bit faster. Maybe he thinks he's faster on the asphalt than Nickel.
Well, he's studying Nickel. Lost some drive off that corner. Nickel went for a tear-off, and it kind of evened it back up again. Through the little chicane on the pavement, up onto the banking once again. The bikes are pretty equal in straightaway speed, but Nickel definitely did a little bit better job in that brief infield section now. Ward's trying to tuck in and close the gap once again. Kunzel putting real pressure on Herfoss up front right now, who has to know that the number 5 bike is coming at him.
And Herfoss on that Husqvarna. We saw Eddie Seal, the world Supermoto champion. We know that bike is fast, but you're also going to get a factory KTM just behind in Jürgen Kunzel. And now he has pressure. This is something Herfoss hadn't had to deal with the entire race. Will he succumb to the pressure? He's had clear track ahead of him, and I would have to say Kunzel's a little bit faster now. There's no reason Herfoss should have been reeled in, especially that quick.
Well, he's dealing not only with the pressure from behind, but lap traffic in front. They're starting to get into it just a little bit. So you've got, in addition to the turns that don't change, you've got rolling chicanes out there in the form of some of the back markers in the field. Troy Herfoss now. Kunzel looks very relaxed. Herfoss starting to show a little bit of concern, looking around.
He should, because Kunzel is fast. As I said, on the asphalt, that's his forte. Herfoss is fast as well, but Kunzel, you see how Herfoss is having to back it in, bring it around, and Kunzel didn't. He's really not having to push as hard to go just as fast. So we'll see if Kunzel can get by Herfoss, but he sure does look faster.
Here he comes, up inside, almost. Little bit of contact, blew the drive for Herfoss. Kunzel takes the lead, and Troy Herfoss did fold up just a little bit under that block pass and the pressure of taking his line away.
And he took that inside line in the dirt section right there. Jürgen Kunzel, that was a textbook move. The same way he got by Kurt Nickel. He went to the inside, dove in a little bit harder. But as I talked about, when Herfoss is here, watch how far Herfoss backs it in. Look at the back end swing around. You don't see that from Kunzel. He's in a better position. He's straighter. A little bump and run right there. Herfoss was still checking on the brake. He had nowhere to go.
He felt that little nudge, though, from the front tire of the number 5 bike. Had to acknowledge it, and now he's going to settle in and see if he can apply some pressure to the man who is the new leader. 8 laps into this one. At the Music City Motorplex, Jürgen Kunzel leads the race, and we have to point out that he has led many AMA Supermoto races. He has never been able to close one out, win an AMA Supermoto. He has won before, but not in this class.
Yeah, he cannot close the deal, or that's been the story up until this point. He may not, because Troy Herfoss was passed, and you can see how hard he's diving in. Herfoss wants to have a win here as well. You see the motocross action and going down.
Just a loss of traction there, a little too much lean angle, little too soon on the throttle perhaps. That's the call I'm going to make without looking at it again. And Troy Herfoss now has also stalled the bike. And with these big 4-strokes, that's a serious problem.
Unfortunate for him, too. Has to start the bike up. I mean, forget that. I mean, he was going for the win in good position. Let's see what happens. Just brought it around. Remember how I said out of position earlier, backing it in? He backed it in and just couldn't bring it back around again. He still had to do some braking, yet the rear end was trying to swing around to the outside.
Well, that gives Jürgen Kunzel a much more clear path to the checkered flag. Meanwhile, his boss and teammate Kurt Nickel has got his hands full with Jeff Ward. Ward's given him all kinds of pressure here for that second and third place position. These two have not yet decided just who's going to stand next to the apparent winner at this point, Jürgen Kunzel.
A little early 4th of July for Jeff Ward. There are a lot of sparks on the inside line, and now it's Nickel who's hung out to dry way outside. You see him banging the gears, those slipper clutches, keeps the back wheel in traction, unlike a motocross bike where you get that chatter. Watch this. I mean, he just dove to the inside. I mean, aggressive move right here by Ward, the second rider in your picture, number 1. That is why he's the national champion, by the way. Look at him downshifting. He knew he had it. Kurt Nickel knew he had it.
So Jeff Ward takes over second spot, some distance behind the leader, Jürgen Kunzel, who is now probably beginning to think, just what am I going to say in a victory speech? I haven't practiced this before.
Hey, Red Bull KTM is fast, not only here in the U.S. scene. This is the last lap. He still has to keep it upright for this, last lap. I think he's, capable of doing that. This is a guy who is a challenger for the World Championships, but KTM brought him here to the U.S. They think he can win the AMA Supermoto title. Right now, he's still got a long road to hoe. He's behind in points to Jeff Ward, but he's going for his first win. Ward, he looks like he's going to have to settle for second.
Well, and Ward perhaps pretty happy to settle for second. Minimal damage to his points lead. He at least put Kurt Nickel behind him and made a minimal problem for himself mathematically. Only a couple of point difference there between those two spots. That could be huge as we wind this season down. So Jeff Ward in second place, takes a quick look behind. He's got enough of a margin where he could bring it home, but not as much of a margin as Jürgen Kunzel. Kunzel is going to win this race, and it will be his first. They say you always remember the first. Should be a memorable day for Jürgen Kunzel, although he still has another race to go. And there's the checkered flag. The man from Germany stands on the pegs and celebrates his first ever win in AMA Supermoto competition. Welcome back to the AMA Supermoto Championship and Jürgen Kunzel's celebration of his first ever AMA Supermoto win with his crew. He'll head off towards the podium as we take a look at the results. Kunzel, Ward, and Nickel, the podium sitters. Road racer Aaron Yates down in 10th position. Dirt tracker J.R. Schnabel, 12th, for a couple of guys that we mentioned off the top. And for Troy Herfoss, 23rd out of 23, a DNF in this race. With that, let's go down to Rebecca Staub, the man who won it.
Finally up here in first place, long overdue, first place victory. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. We worked really long and hard for this first podium, or this first place here. I can say only thank you on the Red Bull KTM team, my mechanics Brandon. Dunlop Tire gave me a really good tire, and all the other guys. And yeah, we work hard on it, and I'm so happy that I can win a race then. And now we can go for the next event.
Yeah, I didn't get the start I wanted, and then I knew Kunzel was behind me, and then my front brake was all mushy, so I tried adjusting it before this corner, and I shouldn't have done it there, and then he got by, and then once he got by Kurt, I just couldn't get by Kurt. It was just, it's hard to pass, and the runs I got, and somebody got in the way, so it was like, but I was lucky to get by him. He was riding good, and those guys just were checked out.
I ran a very good race. I got a good start. Troy passed me on the first lap, but I hung in there second for a long time. Jürgen was awesome. I'm so happy for him to finally win a race. I think this could be the turning point in his US career. We just needed for him to win one, and now he'll go from strength to strength.
With that out of the way, we will await race number 2, but in the meantime, take a look at some highlights from the other classes competing here at the Music City Motorplex, starting with Supermoto Unlimited.
Supermoto Unlimited, a tight points battle throughout the year. Mickey Diamond and Daryl Atkins going at it, but Troy Herfoss, we see why he was so fast in AMA Supermoto. Well, he's fast in Supermoto Unlimited, too. You put that horsepower underneath him.
And in the runner-up spot, David Bafalou from France on a KTM 610, riding for Mitch Hansen and Team HMC, running in second spot. Behind Herfoss.
Yeah, David Bafalou, I mean, we've seen him. He's one of the guys that crashed in that opening segment of the video. He's had a tough season. He gets by Herfoss, kind of surprising. I mean, Herfoss had the bike, the power underneath him, but a little tentative, and Bafalou took advantage. Another rider coming from Europe, this rider from France, Bafalou is, and takes the lead and thus the win.
And right behind them, championship contender Mickey Diamond moving up into third position and challenging for second. Remember, as you said, he is in a championship battle. Tight points chase with Daryl Atkins, who's a few spots further back. Diamond running in the third spot and now moving up into second.
Yeah, he's doing everything he can to get as many points as he can. I mean, he sees that rider in front of him, Herfoss, but that's also 2 points he's looking at. If he wants to win this championship, You know, as Jürgen Kunzel last year, who lost at the last race, we see that anything can happen, especially in Supermoto. But Mickey Diamond gains 2 points when he gets by Troy Herfoss.
Now going up for the lead, which may be out of reach for him in this race, and I think he recognized that, but at least he has a rider in between him and his principal rival for the championship. Herfoss not giving up, however, even throughout this race. Herfoss continued to challenge Mickey Diamond, who had much more at stake in this championship for first place. Herfoss in the picture, but not for the overall title. David Bafalouk leading and taking the checkered flag in the unlimited category. He picks up the win over Diamond, Herfoss, and Atkins. Diamond and Atkins, the two principal contenders for that title. This is the way it ended. Let's go to Rebecca Staub.
Last month in Copper Mountain, you hurt your knee, and you just dominated this race yet again.
Yes, I'm very happy to win here, and it's very good for me because in Colorado, in Copper Mountain, it's very bad weekend for me, and very happy, and congratulations to all team HMC, very good job.
On to Supermoto lights on some of the smaller bikes, another action-filled class of competition here at the Music City Motorplex. And in this one, we had a very, very impressive Mark Burkhart riding a Graves Motorsports Yamaha. Got a lot of help from the road racing guys who were off this weekend. He comes out here and really puts on a show, made all their hard work worth it.
The road racing guys were off this weekend, but it seems like Burkhart is on every single weekend, undefeated in this series. Look at this race for second. Casey Yarrow, 92 on the inside, on the outside. KX is so good to see the green. And in the lights class, even that gets checked up right there. Brandon Curry makes a pass, and Yarrow goes from first to third now and just not having his best day.
Out front, though, Mark Burkhart, flawless in his effort, working through traffic, fighting off all of the challenges, and there really weren't many once he got out in the lead. That's how far behind Brandon Curry is to Mark Burkhart, the leader.
Yeah, you talk about Burkhart. I mean, he is the rider in Supermoto lights. Yes, a third less calories than your regular Supermoto, but the 250s are fast. Expect him to move up to the 450 class, the AMA Supermoto, at the next round, because that checkered flag means not only did he win the race, Brian, but he also wins the championship.
Mark Burkhart clinching a championship, as you would expect from a man undefeated to this point in the season. He does it here at Nashville over Brandon Curry and Casey Yarrow, who had such a great battle there for the runner-up spot. Here's your champion.
Absolutely dominating the Supermoto lights, and now you have cemented the title. How does it feel?
I won't know for a day or so, but it's awesome. I love doing it for the people I ride for, Yamaha, Graves, Thor, Scott, especially Dunlop tires for holding up. The best tires by far. Everybody should use them. Everybody helped us out. If I missed anybody, sorry, but can't really think right now. But I'm happy, and this is what we set out to do, and we've done it.
And finally in our highlights, the Honda Red Riders Junior Supermoto Challenge, presented by the Honda Riders Club of America. Tyler Valentine out front on identically prepared machines that are put together by Danny Walker and his American Super Camp crew. This gives a chance for some of these young riders, virtually in a spec class, to go out and show their stuff. In this case, for Wyatt McGuire, showing how to pitch it out a second spot.
Yeah, had a little high side problem right there, but you're right. I mean, you have to have good grades to even be eligible for this race. It's a great shot to see the youth of Supermoto. These may be little dirt trackers or motocrossers or road racers, but just to see how well they do on both forms of racing here. The number 13 of Tyler Valentine from Evergreen, Colorado. We didn't see him in the Colorado round, but we see him here at Nashville, and he's definitely fast.
Looking back to see the second place man, Jacob Lehman, out of Washington State, also on a CRF 150. That's the bike of choice and the spec machine for this class. Tyler Valentine pulling off the win here in the Honda Red Riders Supermoto Challenge, doing it in front of a nice crowd at the Music City Motorplex, taking another checkered flag for the 2005 season. Remember the name Tyler Valentine. You're likely to hear it more in the future, along with some of the rest on this list.
Won't be long before we see them in the Supermoto Lights class. Maybe they'll rub elbows with Mark Burkhart here soon.
It's always fun to see these youngsters out there, but this is the show that everybody's come to see, the Supermoto race number 2. We're ready for the second half of this doubleheader Supermoto Championship, Music City Motorplex. They will line up the same way they did in race number 1, but there's sure to be different drama here the second time around.
Troy Herfoss has inside pole position. He earned that in the Supermoto Super Pole. But watch, 2 riders to his right, our 3rd rider from the inside here, number 5, Jürgen Kunzel. He's, some come off his bike, look like his fork guard, but he was angled towards Jeff Ward. And really, again, Herfoss has pole position, but not the start he was looking for, both motos.
Well, this time it's Jeff Ward who fended off the kamikaze attack from the right side and is able to pull out into the front. Herfoss comes through into second position with a nice move, but it is the defending champ and the man wearing number 1 out front.
Blazing fast. Troy Herfoss gets by Kurt Nickel. He didn't want to play follow the leader for very long. Herfoss, young, aggressive, but you see Jeff Ward with a good start. If Jeremy McGrath were here, I mean, Jeremy's the king of starts, and that's why I was kind of surprised that Wardy didn't get a good start in the first one, because he's normally up there either first or second, but this time he shows you how fast he is. But I'm still wondering what was that flew off of Jürgen Kunzel's bike. I do think I see one of his fork guards not on there, and if that thing would have got into his tire, it could have really caused havoc, especially there on the start.
Well, it caused some minor havoc for him because he double clutched for some reason. Maybe they were unrelated, but he got a horrible start. He's buried back in 6th or 7th spot, while Jeff Ward, his principal rival and the current championship points leader, is out in front. So Kunzel, perhaps reveling in the win in race number 1, might have had a little bit of a lapse of concentration here in race number 2, and he's made his job much more difficult as Herfoss runs in 2nd spot behind Ward. Kunzel way back.
Yeah, this isn't only a physical game. It's a mental game out there, too. And you have 2 teammates going at it, 2 KTMs. Here's a Red Bull KTMs. You see Kunzel, you see Nickel, and David Boffeloof now in the picture. Whenever you have to pass the boss, it gets into your head, Brian. I mean, this is a guy that signs the checks, and number 8 is the boss. So no matter how aggressive you want to be, you don't want to take out the wrong guy, and I think that's what David Boffeloof is going to have to deal with here very shortly.
Well, if you're going to take him out, just don't hurt his check-writing arm. Make sure that one stays okay. But Boffeloof indeed in 4th spot behind Kurt Nickel, the KTM Red Bull team boss. And then further back still, and we continue to point this out, Jürgen Kunzel, who started from the front row and had a great opportunity to get the lead in this race, or certainly be closer to Jeff Ward than he is not. He's way back. Let's go back and find him. That's not him.
No, that's Chris Fillmore. That's Jeff Ward's teammate. Jürgen Kunzel is still behind that. And Kunzel gets by Benny Carlson, so he is able to work his way up to 6th now. Carlson having a tough year. I mean, he and Fillmore were the young guns of the sport here in the U.S. Now you're seeing Herfoss's name up in the front, but no Benny, no Chris Fillmore. They're, around 4th, 5th place right now. Just not what we expected this year.
Well, Jürgen Kunzel gained 3 points on Jeff Ward in race number 1. He's lost more than twice that, running in 6th position behind Ward, the leader. So he's got a lot of work to do. Right now, he's battling with Fillmore on that number 11 machine, and Ward is getting away.
Yeah, we talk about the AMA Championship. The biggest distance is between 1st and 2nd. That's a 3-point differential. Then for the top 5, it just goes to 2 points in between. So every rider that Jürgen Kunzel is able to pick up, that's an extra 2 points he's closing in on Ward. Again, it's kind of a flip-flop of that first moto, but he's got a lot of ground to make up, and I can promise you, Chris Fillmore is not going to let him by easy. He's young. He's out there. He's real aggressive, but he also knows that his teammates out in front needs all the help he can get.
Oh, he'll put the wide load sign on every chance he can to try to keep Kunzel behind him. There is, of course, the teammate situation. They both ride Hondas versus KTMs. A lot of pride on the line, both individually and for their employers. So, yes, Fillmore will fight hard over Jürgen Kunzel. Takes a big, long outside line. Can he square it up to get the drive into the dirt? No, Fillmore holds on to the spot.
Not when Fillmore's going to take the inside. Yeah, if Fillmore would have went outside, Kunzel would have been set up perfect, but I like Kunzel doing something different. We saw Ward in that first moto trying the outside slingshots around the berm. Kunzel does it in a different section. Just he looks a little bit faster, but like you said, Fillmore's going to ride with those wide elbows. He's not going to let him by easy.
Here they go up onto the banking, and again, the power of the 2 machines match very evenly. We don't see any definite straightaway speed advantage by any of these bikes.
Who runs it in deeper, though? Watch this. Watch this. Kunzel on the inside. He gets a lower line. He's going to have to lose a little speed, a little momentum, and it's going to be coming into the braking section. Who's going to back down first? Hey, props to the kid, Chris Fillmore, because Jürgen Kunzel was in position for the pass, and Fillmore didn't back down.
Nope, Fillmore still holding on. Here comes Kunzel inside with a great block move in a very unusual spot on the racetrack. Kunzel picks an odd place to go around but makes it work.
Did you see how surprised he was? Did you see Fillmore? I mean, he turned again like that. He thought there's no way he's going to be there, but he was. No way. Well, yeah, way.
Here goes Jürgen Kunzel now up to 5th position. Jeff Ward first. We're talking about championship ramifications here. When we mention both Ward and Kunzel in the same breath, that is because they are the two principal title contenders. Kunzel in 5th, Ward first, and out front pulling away.
Yeah, Ward, he leads Troy Herfoss, Kurt Nickel out in front, but this race is all Jeff Ward right now, but the question is how close can Kunzel get to Ward?
He's got some time to try to get it done. Ward's your leader, Kunzel 5th, Nickel, Herfoss, and Bafalou in between. Back at the Music City Motorplex with Jeff Ward, the defending AMA Supermoto champion, out in front, not by much, however, over the talented youngster Troy Herfoss, the teenager who qualified on pole with a fast lap in the Super Pole competition. But the veteran Jeff Ward showing the young man around the track right now.
And Herfoss was nearly a second faster in that Supermoto Super Pole, but as we've talked about before, Brian, that's one lap. And how many laps has Herfoss completed tonight? I mean, he's raced more than anyone on the course.
This is his 3rd full race of the evening. He rode race number 1 Supermoto, the unlimited class, and now Supermoto race 2. So the youngster is going to need all the enthusiasm of youth and every bit of energy that he has conserved. You know, Jeff Ward has paced himself because he gets all the way to the end of the evening with just enough energy to finish that last lap.
And at 44 years of age, I mean, he has the stamina. I mean, it's amazing. This guy he's like that rabbit that just keeps going and going. But the avenues, the venues he's been in, I mean, this guy has raced at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but yet he's still this fast on 2 wheels. I just don't get it.
He has got a gift, and he's worked hard to perfect the gift he's been given. Jeff Ward is a standard that the others have to be judged by in Supermoto because he's wearing the number 1 plate. Yeah, there are youngsters. There are fast kids out there. There are more experienced Supermoto riders. There's none better than Jeff Ward.
Herfoss really charging hard. And we talk about Supermoto, how it's trying to find the best overall rider. Well, you come from different venues like, dirt track or road racing or motocross. When you look at motocrossers, there hasn't been a more well-rounded motocrosser ever than Jeff Ward. The only guy to ever win 125, 250, 500 motocross championships, though in a 250 Supercross championship. The only thing that he hasn't won was a 125 Supercross championship. That's because they didn't have it back then, Brian.
Well, if they did, he probably would have won that too. Yeah. Jeff Ward now, you could see that Herfoss made a run at him, but Ward just keeps the pressure from up front, the pressure of being in the lead, and Herfoss has to gather himself up, go for another little push, and now you can see that Jeff Ward has actually opened the gap that Herfoss had closed a while ago.
And a fast Husqvarna in second place, but also a fast CRF 450 of Jeff Ward. Troy Lee Designs. Troy is actually a team member with Chris Fillmore and Jeff Ward. They have those bikes so dialed right now. Every now and then you'll see, Jeremy McGrath pop in on his team. Those Hondas are fast. The KTMs are fast as well. Jürgen Kunzel just unfortunately not fast enough to close in to Kurt Nickel, who we just saw, and gain more points. Kurt Nickel back in 3rd, loving things right now, but he really wants his rider to be in front of him if he's going to have a chance to win the championship.
Jeff Ward holding off the youngster Troy Herfoss, the pole sitter. They're pretty evenly spaced right now. The top 5 runners, all with about the same gap from one to the other. There we saw Ward make sure he gets the bike back down onto the ground so it can accelerate. Yes, they spend some time in the air, but the only way the bike will go faster is if the rear tire is in contact with the ground.
And I want to talk more about that points battle between Ward and Kunzel back there in 4th place right now. When you have the boss in front in Kurt Nickel, he's losing points. The boss's job is to have his rider win the championship. I'm wondering if team tactics might play a part, and you'll see him drop back. But first things first, Kunzel still has to get by David Bafalou, but we're seeing this big picture, this championship, and Jeff Ward's just sitting pretty, especially when the boss and another one of his riders is between himself and Kunzel.
Jeff Ward's doing what he has to do. Kurt Nickel has to wait until he sees some signs. And here it is. Jürgen Kunzel moves inside of Bafalou. He was briefly in front a moment ago. Now he's taken the position away perhaps for good. And Jürgen Kunzel, at this point, if there's any signaling going on, Kurt Nickel in 3rd spot might get word that Kunzel is up close enough. And yes, indeed, he may pull over and allow Kunzel to go by for 3rd and take the points that are so important at this juncture of the championship.
And not much of a fight there either by David Boffaloof. I was kind of surprised at it. I mean, these guys have been racing against each other for years, and Boffaloof just almost said, all right, here's the inside. I don't think there was any team orders there. I think if anywhere, it'll come, between Nickel, and Nickel's not a guy to normally give over position, but really not much of a fight there for position between two European riders. And there's a lot of European pride on the line as well.
Well, not a lot of sideline coaching available to these guys either. I mean, it isn't as though they can run back to the huddle and get the play called. They have to make it up as they go along out there. Right now, Kunzel working as hard as he can to move up positions. We saw him move from 6th to 5th, now from 5th to 4th. He got a horrible start and really made this job much more difficult than it might have been had he nailed it.
And this course really plays into Jürgen Kunzel. I talked about it at the top of the show. As little as dirt as possible for Jürgen Kunzel. That's his forte, is the asphalt. Whenever he's got that contact patch on the asphalt, he is so fast, but unfortunately in this second moto, or this second final, is really hurting him right now. And I really can't place what it is. And we were right at the top of that start. He did lose his fork guard. I'm not sure why, but it's a good thing that didn't get into his front tire. You're looking at him maybe, outside the top 10 position. He'd really be losing some points.
So Jürgen Kunzel on the backstretch right now here at the Music City Motorplex, the Nashville Speedway. It uses an infield course for Supermoto. Traffic beginning to be an issue, but the traffic includes Kurt Nickel just in front of him. So now Kunzel and Nickel nose to tail. Will the boss move over and allow his rider to take those couple of points, or will he decide it's a character-building opportunity and make him fight for it?
Right, we posed the question. Now we get to see the answer here very shortly. Now, Nickel, this is really hurting Kunzel because that other line is going to be occupied by a lap rider, and we see the case right there. It really could have cost Kunzel. Kurt Nickel's going to come into him first. Now, if Kunzel has the dialed in, the fast line, he can slingshot by both riders, but when Nickel is as fast as he is, he's probably going to be taking a fast line. That clogs up the other option for Kunzel, and he's not going to have anywhere else to go.
So Kurt Nickel, Jürgen Kunzel, KTM teammates, the boss and his principal protege, they're all out there chasing Jeff Ward after 12 laps, still in front. We'll be back after these important messages. The 2005 AMA Supermoto Championship has been brought to you by Honda, the company that defines performance in motorcycles, ATVs, personal watercraft, and scooters. And by Yamaha, now celebrating 50 years as the world's motorsports leader. Still a very tight battle between Kurt Nickel and Jürgen Kunzel for 3rd and 4th positions.
Woo!
Yeah.
Man, that was almost the shimmy throwdown right there. That bike shimmied and about threw him down to the ground. Jürgen Kunzel, that was a close call.
Well, he managed to save it, but lost a lot of ground to Kurt Nickel. He's got to try to make that up again, and he doesn't have the luxury of a lot of time left in this race.
Man, right now he's still trying to regroup his thoughts. I mean, those was one of those could-have-beens. I mean, he could have been on the ground just as easy as he kept it on 2 wheels, Brian. But he's got to close back in on Kurt Nickel. You see the blue flag with that yellow line? That means watch out, you're going a lap down. These are the leaders trying to work by you. Nice courtesy move there by the lap rider.
That was Jason Baldwin on the number 98 machine who was involved in that little battle for a moment. Now he's left these two KTM teammates to fight it out amongst themselves. Up on the banking, down into the heartbreaking turn. As we just got a glimpse there of Troy Herfoss in 2nd position. And a little further ahead of Herfoss is the leader. And that leader is Jeff Ward.
Still, Kunzel's going, breathe deep, breathe deep. This is the section they were coming into. He goes to the inside. It looks like he's got the pass.
Oh, but he only hurts himself with the contact. He tried to get in there, but ends up on the short end of the deal instead. And Jürgen Kunzel has tried and tried again. This time he failed and failed dramatically.
Look at this. He's got a straight line. He has no way of turning the bike. And Kurt Nickel did the correct thing. He chopped the nose. Although that's his rider right there, you don't want to make yourself go down either. Remember, this is asphalt. You go down, you usually go hard. And Kurt looked over and said, why did you do that? That was a dumb move. I mean, if you're going to do it a little bit better than that. You're talking about 2 professionals and really an unwise decision right there by Jürgen Kunzel.
Well, instead of gaining a spot, he lost a couple on the racetrack. Not for position, mind you, because they were lap riders that went by him while he was laying there on the asphalt. But it leaves Kurt Nickel with a pretty clear 3rd place finish here. He's too far behind Herfoss to really challenge for the runner-up spot, and he's way too far behind Jeff Ward to challenge for the win.
Ward is still going through those lap riders. Lap traffic's always a problem if you're a leader because you are the first guy that goes into them. And that always helps a guy in 2nd, but Herfoss is well behind, and Ward just picking them off 1 at a time or 2 at a time like that. I want to talk about this course, though. The AMA did a great job this year of the course design. They heard from the riders in years past. You know, when we were here last year, you only used a portion of the asphalt as far as the high banks. You didn't have the high speed, just the front straightaway. They listened to the riders, and they gave them what they wanted. They got the speed they were asking for.
We're professionals. We can handle it. We're big boys now. We can back it in off the banking here at Nashville and survive. They have indeed, and they put on a great show. Here comes Jeff Ward to do it one more time.
It's very reminiscent of Irwindale Speedway, where we saw Doug Henry take his first victory in Supermoto. You use the banks, you use that high-speed entry, and just as fast coming out, you know, in most cases. And it's good to see the guys just turning it up a notch in Supermoto. But still, no matter how much speed on the asphalt you have, backing it in, you have this section, the dirt section. You can always throw the monkey wrench in there, Brian.
Jeff Ward, equally adept at both. Puts his knee on the ground, keeps his foot out a little bit in the dirt there, but he's just as comfortable laying his knee on the ground. And Troy Herfoss in second position. There we saw a rider having a problem trying to get his bike restarted. Herfoss now has come under some pretty serious attack by Nickel after we said that Nickel was too far behind to challenge for the runner-up spot. Apparently the youngster's starting to run out of gas just a little bit. 3 races into this evening. Yeah, he's probably the little red needle sitting on E.
Yeah, and Kurt didn't hear us, by the way. White flag is out. The last lap. Kurt didn't hear us say he was too far back. Herfoss right now, though, this is where he can dig deep, and I don't know if there's any adrenaline left, but he, you know, if he had a Red Bull, he'd take one right now in a little Camelback. But this is what the youth will do for you. You see that white flag, it'll give you a little bit of extra giddy up in your step.
That, and you see the wheel of a guy behind you that's not a lapper, somebody gaining on you, it's going to make you pick it up again as well. But both of them are definitely too far back to challenge Jeff Ward. Had a little tiny moment right there, caught the edge of a berm.
But you see how he wheelied over it? I mean, that was such a cool supercross. That one little thing right there made my night, Brian, because he knew he was out of position. Just wheelies over it, no problem. Nah, nothing.
Improvisation as well as great skill for Jeff Ward, the defending AMA Supermoto champion. Coming to the checkered flag. He's going to put on a show, one-handed wheelie. And Jeff Ward has picked up a win here in race number 2 over Troy Herfoss, who indeed is going to hold off Kurt Nickel. And Nickel, we already saw what happened to his teammate Jürgen Kunzel, so there are your second and third place finishers.
Did you see Herfoss? His tongue almost got caught in the spokes down there. He is a beat puppy right now. Takes second, Nickel in third, but Kunzel loses valuable positions, drops back to fourth.
Looking at all the results here of the AMA Supermoto final, race number 2 at the Nashville Music City Motorplex. Now let's go down and hear from the winners.
And it looks like you're just marching on to another championship season.
Yeah, I mean, I had to get a good start at that time, and I did. And we went back to my race suspension. The first moto, I had my backup bike stuff, and it just wasn't working. And as soon on the parade lap, I knew the thing was good. So it just got out front, and I was riding smooth. And I know Troy here rode that moto before, so I knew he had to just keep pushing. He'd tire out maybe a little bit, and looks like he did. So I got lucky there. But he rode really strong this weekend, and so did Kurt for an old guy.
Well, what a night you have had. Started out with Super Pole. You were leading in the first race until you took a pretty bad fall and somehow managed to still podium in the Unlimited, and you weren't even sure that you were going to make it back in this race, and here you are in second. It must be good to be young.
It surely is. I'll tell you what, I'm going to be sore tomorrow and the next day, I think. But, look, you know, like Jeff's, he's a champion. Like, he just, out in front, I think I've seen him make one mistake the whole race, and like, it's definitely a good thing to follow and learn from. And I think I actually split the 2 oldest guys here, getting the 1-2, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, you know, in the last few weeks I've had a bunch of podiums. Tonight's the first time I've ever podiumed like both races on the 450, and yeah, it was a great night for me. I did a good job in practice, got good starts both races, and you know, it's perfect.
I like that, giving each other a hard time there. I beat the old guy. Which one's older?
Well, these guys do poke a little fun at one another off the motorcycles when they get on it. Of course, it's professional racing. May the best man win today, at least in race number 2. The best man was Jeff Ward.
Kunzel loses 7 points in this moto after he gained 3 points in the first moto. So a losing race weekend for Jürgen Kunzel, but double points at that final stop at Reno. You can make up a lot of ground. Double points for the top 5, and there you can make up a lot of ground.
Well, it magnifies any good positions that you might be able to gain, and it also magnifies any misfortune that you might have. So we're already looking forward to the final round of the season and the championship decider at Reno, the Supermoto A Go-Go coming up. But for now, we hope you